Welcome to North Campus Impact, where we highlight change-making and social innovation programs and initiatives here at the North Campus. Today, we have a very special show. We're going to be talking about breaking disparities through arts, services, and education. And we have our first guest for today, Shamar. Welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Shamar Robinson. I'm a sophomore that currently attends Miami-Dade College at the North Campus, and I'm the Secretary of SGA. I'm 19 years old, and my major is Health Services Administration.
Awesome. Tell us, how are you breaking Black disparities through the arts?
So I break Black disparities through the arts by being a dancer. That's the current art form that I use. And I plan to finish that by going pro. So the ultimate goal is to dance for Alvin Ailey, and the overall goal together is to bridge the gap between medicine and art. However, I believe within the Black family or the Black community, a lot of times we place limits on our children. So we'll say, no, you can't do that, or no, don't be a dancer, no, don't be an artist, do something with more money. But that's not what your student or child wants to do. They want to do what they love. And as a parent, I believe that you should support them through anything, whether it be the arts. And the arts, believe it or not, is what the world runs on. It's what gives people hope when there's so much going on, especially in the times like COVID. So I want to bridge the gap between medicine and art by being a CEO of a hospital and overstaffing medical clinics and having a joint facility with a dance company, but also being a dancer at the same time.
What do you feel when you dance?
I guess the question would really be, well, the statement I should say is, I release things. So of course I feel the music and I have to listen to pay attention to the musicality, but when I dance, it's more of like a release for me to just express myself, whatever I'm going through, whatever what I see or feel. It's like, so I like to imagine as like I'm this sentient, universal, spiritual being that's just like in outer space, and when I dance, I'm just giving off light.
How long have you been dancing for?
So that's a complicated question. Okay, so I grew up dancing in church. So I would say 8th grade, right? I was doing mime and liturgical dance, which is just another way of saying church dance. So I did 8th all the way to 12th grade. My 12th grade year, I was dancing in a dance company where I started getting technical training. So that was for about a year. And now after graduating from high school in 2019, I joined the Young Contemporary Dance Theater under the supervision and direction of Mrs. Tracy Young Byron. And I've been dancing with her for, I think it's a year now. Well, it's been 3 seasons. This is my 3rd season with her right now. So I guess technical training would be maybe about 1 to 3 years. And then anything before that would just be about like 5 to 6 years.
When you look at Black disparities, how do you feel that your art helps bring awareness to that?
Dance is a voice. Dance can be used to express yourself in ways that you won't be able to see or talk. When you dance, people are able to feel that story. You take them on a journey, a joyride to see what's going on. Also, like there's many artists today, like Cynthia Ervio. She was an actor and she sung and was the main actor in Harriet. And I was, talking about how Harriet Tubman led the slaves to freedom. So art can be used in ways to show and depict the struggles of what Black African Americans have gone through.
And I like the fact that you mentioned about voice, that it's also a way for you to express your voice in an art form. And it is a little bit of storytelling. What's it like, or how do you tell your story to other students?
May I have some clarity, please? Do you mean like in dance or just in general?
In general.
So I'm always talking and I'm always like, being put out there. So I have no choice to tell them, but sometimes people usually ask like, hey, what do you plan to do or what do you want to do? And I tell them exactly what I'm telling you guys here today.
Awesome. And I guess one of my last questions is, as an MDC student, what do you want to convey to those that are in the minority? How do you feel about college? And what do you say to them when they say college is not for them?
So like Nike, just do it. Like that's the best I could give you. Also, I'll give you a little personal story. So I'm graduating this semester and I didn't think I'd be graduating this semester. And it's crazy because I was like, where I came from, like everyone like that I knew that went to Dade, they had a lot of issues with, graduating within 2 years. There's nothing wrong with that. If it takes you longer, that's perfectly fine. There's no timestamp. Don't let society pressure you. But I was just scared. I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I gonna have these same issues? But now that I'm here and actually doing it, it was a surprise. And like I said, just go out and just do it. Also, especially for Black people and people of color, the fact that, we're graduating from high school, we're opening our own businesses, the fact that we're doing what they said we couldn't do, that shows to you that we can do anything we put our mind to. So just go and do it. And when you're doing it, everything else will flow after that.
When you look at yourself in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
5 years. Okay, so where I see myself now, I honestly see myself preparing to become a professional dancer. So before I, audition for these dance companies, I want to make sure I get the best training possible. So I'll be making sure that I'm taking as many classes and just really capitalizing on my talent.
And tell me a little bit, student government, what has the experience been?
So the experience for student government has been a joyride. At first, I didn't want to do it. When they're like, hey, Shamar, you should run. And I was like, run? No thanks, I already have enough on my plate. And then they're like, no, you're gonna do it. Well, they didn't force me, but they encouraged me to do it, so I did it. And honestly, Stephanie David, she trains you and raises you up like a leader. So you come in not really knowing a lot, but you're gonna leave knowing so much. And now when I go off to college or wherever I go, I'm gonna have so many skills and I'm gonna be very talented because of how she trained me. She trains you as a leader. She raises you up as her own and you learn so many skills, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, Shamar. And I think that you have a lot to talk about when it comes to your voice, making your voice known, whatever you're advocating for. And you have proven that not only through your education here at the college, but through the arts, you have been an advocate. And congratulations for graduating. I know that that's really exciting. So thank you so much for being here. And up next, we have Miss Wendy Joseph talking about Single Stop. Please stay tuned.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Welcome back to another segment. Right now we have Wendy Joseph from Single Stop. They'll start by telling us a little bit about her program and herself.
Hi. So Single Stop is a campus support program that links students and their families to benefits and services both on campus and in the community.
And tell us, how long have you been with Single Stop?
I've been with the Single Stop program for a little over 7 years.
Awesome. And so when we look at services for our students, primarily our minority students, what are some of the services that they can benefit from?
So some of the services that Single Stop offers would include mental health counseling. We have our food pantry for students here on campus. We offer free financial coaching, assistance with applications such as SNAP and Medicaid, and a whole host of other services.
What are some of the things that you would say that keep students from sometimes coming to have those services?
One of the things that keeps a lot of our students, especially our minority students, from taking advantage of the services on campus and in the community would be the stigmas that they may face at home, the stigmas from society, and definitely cultural stigmas that make them feel apprehensive or even ashamed to take advantage of some of the services that we offer.
I know that when we were talking about this show, you were sharing with me some of the great things that do happen when a student does come, and the happiness that happens when a student comes and benefits from those programs. How do you feel when you see these students who are sometimes you have to convince to come over and have these and take part in these programs? How do you feel being able to help them in that way?
As a coordinator, it's my role to help, and it's very disheartening when we have students who we see that their academics are being negatively impacted because of non-academic challenges such as housing insecurity, food insecurity, the need for mental health counseling, and so many other challenges that we know directly impact, in a negative way sometimes, their ability to persist and complete their academics. So we spend a lot of time normalizing and helping students to understand that it's okay, and more students are taking advantage of these services than some of our students tend to think. So it's really important as a single stop coordinator that we help the students to understand the benefits of taking advantage of the services and the fact that many, many students are taking advantage of the single stop services.
And what I think one of the great things about single stop is that it's not only about the student, it's also about the students' families.
Absolutely.
And so there are some services, although not all, but there are some that are extended to family. What are some of those services that are extended to the families?
So some of the services that we offer to students and their families would be free tax preparation, mental health counseling, food stamp and Medicaid applications. And it's really important that when a student has a family member who's in need, that can be just as detrimental to that student's academics as if the student were in need. So it's important, and especially when we have students who they are the ones who are responsible, or they feel responsible for taking care of their families. It's important for them to understand that we are here, Miami-Dade College and Single Stop are here for them and their entire family.
When looking at our students, how much do you think in them knowing I have a clear mind, you know, I'm being taken care of because of these services? Have you seen it in following some of these students that their academics improve?
Absolutely. Again, students tend to suffer academically because of non-academic challenges. And some of the students who I'm working with specifically in the Educate Tomorrow at MDC program, these are students who are vulnerable. They're students who lack family support, and they lack many other supports. So we can see a direct correlation between services or lack thereof and their academic progression.
Can you tell us a little bit about Educate Tomorrow?
Absolutely. So Educate Tomorrow is Florida's largest campus-based support program specifically for students impacted by child welfare as well as housing insecurity. So the students who we support are typically students who've been impacted by the foster care system. They may have been adopted, they may have been in relative care, non-relative care, as well as students who are homeless, at risk of being homeless, and unaccompanied.
And it's a nonprofit organization, but you would serve as a liaison to them?
Correct.
And I think that says a lot about the college and the services that we try to provide to our minority students, where if we don't have the resources, we will partner up with someone who does have the resources. And it becomes a collaborative. Research shows that community resources and gathering and collaborating make the environment stronger and help these students to see, listen, you're not alone. If it's not only the school that's here for you, it's the people in your own community that are here from you. And so let's create that environment for you, whether you have it or you haven't had it. If you haven't had it, let's create it. If you have had it, let's reinforce it. Let's look at it as a whole and create an environment for you with mentors like Carlton Daly and students from the TRIO program. Single Stop is also, some of the people in Single Stop are part-time students.
Correct.
So they're sharing their experiences. How is that like, do you think, for the students helping students in Single Stop?
I think before I give that answer, I like to just take the time to acknowledge that, you know, there's an old saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. And I am so proud to work for an institution that is helping to create that village. And 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, Miami-Dade College saw fit to create a campus-based program to support students in foster care. Miami-Dade College helped to create a village for those students. And same thing with Single Stop. Single Stop, with a host of different services and opportunities available, partnering with DCF, Department of Children and Families, and having an on-site caseworker. Not many institutions have that resource on site. And specifically with our student assistants and students in the Single Stop department, these are students who may not have the perfect life at home, but yet they see fit to come to work, come to school, and help others to attain the same opportunities that they themselves are taking advantage of. Some of our students have taken advantage of the mental health counseling. Some of them may have taken advantage of the food pantry for students, and the free tax preparation and the financial coaching. And ultimately, because they have benefited from those services, they are well equipped to help teach and advocate to other students to do the same thing.
And some of those are actually end up working for Single Stop
Absolutely.
and helping others and sharing that experience with them. Thank you so much, Wendy, for being on the show today. Up next, Mr. Carlton Daly. Tune in.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Welcome back as we discuss breaking Black disparities through arts, services, and education. Our third session, we're going to be talking with Mr. Carlton Daly and talk about higher education when it comes to Black disparities. Welcome, Mr. Daly.
Welcome. Oh, thank you very much, Evelyn, for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here as well. Carlton is actually our director of our TRIO program. Can you briefly tell us about the program?
Thank you very much. And that's actually an excellent segue, because the TRIO programs that started back in 1964 was actually as a way of breaking back disparities, especially in education and in economics. It was actually started, came out of the mind of one of Dr. King's lieutenants, Reverend C.T. Vivian. It was a way of providing access to education and museums and art galleries and restaurants for African American students, primarily in the South. Over the years, the TRIO programs have grown to take a lot greater stand in terms of access, not just for minority students, but low-income first-generation students. So it's called TRIO because it started out with 3 programs. The most famous is probably Upward Bound. 2 years later, it added an educational talent search program that served middle school students. And my program, Student Support Services, started back in 1968. So it was called TRIO because they started with 3 programs. Over the years, they've added an additional 4, but it still retains the name TRIO. So it's a very apt thing because, as I said, it was a part of the Civil Rights Amendment and President Lyndon B. Johnson's Greater Society.
Awesome. And now part of what TRIO does is mentoring. Can you explain how this has become a platform, mentoring has become a platform in higher education to break Black disparity?
Yes, actually, when we started out in the program in 2005, mentoring was seen more as a thing that we mentored students primarily from Miami-Dade College staff and faculty. Over the years, we realized that the greatest influence came from peer mentoring. So we have a very strong peer mentoring component to the program that's primarily done by students in their second years, but also a lot of it is actually done by our alumni who have gone through the rigors of Miami-Dade College, earned a bachelor's degree, and are working professionals. So they are able to offer, how should I say it, advice, purely by saying, I went through this, I understand what this could be. And our mentoring runs a whole gamut. It could be academic in terms of helping students with especially math or physics or STEM-related classes, to things like how to interact with the police. So it runs a whole gamut. Recently, we had a conversation with some of our students with dress and decorum in the work world, because some of our students are now getting access to internships, which is actually virtual, but it's very, very funny. So some of our mentors will be talking to them about Zoom etiquette or Teams etiquette, how to dress, make sure there is nothing in the background, make sure that your phone is off, make sure your TV is off, make sure there's nobody coming behind and using foul language. So I think that has done very, very well. I remember years ago when I first started, I used to be very, very, very cool. I realize now I'm no longer as cool as I think I am. So I think the message coming from our older students and our professors has a lot more weight to it. And I think it's been very, very well received by our current students.
And research does show that education, when it comes to mentoring and peer mentoring, is so effective. I could see how the program is such in part a success because of the mentoring that goes on and the peer and the engagement that goes on among the peers. It becomes a family, so to speak, as they get to know each other and they've built this relationship. how can you look at when you look at Black disparity in Miami? How can someone identify or bring awareness or provide resources to help students maneuver those disparities?
That's a really good question because Miami is unlike the rest of the country, I think. And I think that we live here in Miami in one of the greatest social science laboratories because I think Miami is about 30 years ahead of the rest of the country. So, one of the greater questions, one of the most important factors in Black disparity in Miami is actually immigration. And immigration plays such an important part in Miami history, not just for African Americans or people of African descent, but everybody. But if you look at the beginning, Miami actually, the Black population in Miami actually came from the Bahamas. So there's always been a very strong Bahamian influence in the history of Miami, not just Black Miami. And over the years, it's progressed to include people from Latin America and the Caribbean. Really more recently, we have another people are actually from Africa, which makes it very interesting because I always say that in Miami, there's even diversity in our diversity because a Black person in Miami could be Jamaican, could be African American, could be Haitian, it could be Afro-Cuban or Afro-Nicaraguan. So it adds a lot to the texture of our city. Now, one of the things that I'm very happy that I work at Miami-Dade College because one thing we have learned over the course of history is that education is a great poverty buster. And African Americans for a long time have strived to create their own institutions. Right after during Reconstruction, right at the end of the Civil War in 1865, there was a sprouting of African American institutions like Florida A&M and Morehouse and Spelman. So African Americans have long seen the importance of education. Now, if we fast forward to 1960 and the creation of Miami-Dade College, even though the college initially was segregated in 1960, very quickly it became integrated very quickly. And at the first graduation session, there were about 12 African-American students who initially took their classes at Miami Central and Miami Northwestern, but very quickly were part of the North Campus. And African-American students have always flourished here. And it's very funny. If you don't know about my accent, I'm actually from Jamaica. So it's funny that one of the first institutions of higher education I ever heard about was Miami-Dade College because the legacy of Jamaicans coming to Miami-Dade College is long and outstanding. We have several government ministers who were Miami-Dade College graduates. So it plays a very important role. Now, Miami-Dade College is a great economic engine in our community, only because it not only does it provide employment for a large number of African descent people, but it also provides training and opportunities for our students who can go on and earn great incomes. And I think greatly of some of our Miami-Dade College TRIO students who have done extremely well. Some of those students who have came to Miami-Dade College got a scholarship to Tuskegee University, and their starting salary was probably in the 80,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is amazing, and these are some of the students who most of them are usually our STEM students who have done very, very well, and in turn they're giving back to TRIO and Miami-Dade College. So we think about students who were getting public assistance or were getting Pell Grant, and very quickly they have managed to not just elevate themselves, but members of their families. We have TRIO students who now are paying for their brothers and sisters or nieces and nephews to come to Miami-Dade College. So it's a great thing. The other thing I think is also amazing about the college is that 93% of our students graduate with no debt. And a lot of us here are still paying student loans. So if we can get our students to complete their AA degree with minimal or no debt at all, it's a great accelerator for their lives because then we don't have to burden them down with loans. So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank you, Mr. Carlton, because not only for what you do with your students in your classroom, but also your long-standing with TRIO in developing the program. I know that you have been an advocate for your students for years, just like our guests today, Shamar, Wendy, and Carlton. Really, it's about bringing awareness, giving our students a voice, and really looking at Black disparity and how we're doing as a college to bring it through the arts, through education, and as well as through services. And so I want to thank you today to all my three guests. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, this is Evelyn Rodriguez closing for Impact North Campus.